The most important tenet of the Christian faith is forgiveness, but one of the most difficult things to forgive is when someone you care about has been wronged, and they've forgiven, but you're left with feelings of resentment on their behalf. The Apostle Paul mentions this in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and says that it's important to forgive the enemies of those you've taken up for, just as they've forgiven. In fact, to protect your relationship with God and man, it's vital that you can do this. I'd suggest that you go one better and deal with your feelings even before they bloom into unforgiveness. One way to better deal with these feelings is to be reminded of the overall spiritual struggle that's going on between those forces of good that represent God's holiness and the forces of evil that want to do nothing but drag you into the battle by having you either be debilitated by your feelings of unforgiveness or, even better, use you to fight on his side by walking around with unresolved animosity between you and someone the Lord calls you to love, which includes your enemies. Being washed of such feelings defeats the enemy right where he stands and frustrates him to no end, because you remind him of Christ when you walk in God's likeness and contentment and peaceful intentions. This should drive all of us to desire the same for our fellow men and women, especially the one who you can't stand because he reminds you of the way you used to be and maybe, to some degree, still are. Instead of running from such an encounter, the enemy can be defeated by pressing in and embracing the one who painfully reminds you that because of your sin, Jesus died, that you may live eternally without the strife of unforgiveness.